Siam ai strelacha makal kunsene ella tienok hiloksen ai kunsu chichal siam sleloch ai kunsu chiet kunsene ella mak kunstetchal nangat tienok I kwaya khangal squish kwela kunsteya tanai strelacha kunsene ella at met ties noel siam ai strelacha I SDEMOXELTEN squat tanesne Kunsu quantat the squis squel thea than I strelacha collect kunsu chiat kunsene ella Xu I lilok at the squela kunsat lingal Su stangist salta the squish konings the holloch stra ella tia tangoch Siam I strelacha Unil ko checks to quat at the squish squela kunsata Su stangistal salta At the squash che tears cool out. Eat mokochin quansu che. Siam suaika slantlini. You tlut all conestu yak and the squel tia enok. Conesu hoquet at the squish quail quinstay at the night strelacha tia elton. Siam I strelacha. Itiquang, siam saleloch, siam sitch, conestu yak and the squel. Tia enok, conesu chawis tlut all to conitum can. Siam ait strelacha high school siam. My dear friends and relatives, I look around the room and I just share my acknowledgements and raise my hands in acknowledgement each and every one of you for being here today and for offering your presence. As I share these words today, I share them on behalf of our hosts this morning and thanking each and every one of you for taking your time to be here with us. My name is SDEMOXELTEN. My English name is Ian Sam. I currently work in the Indigenous Department in the Health Faculty. And I'm thankful to be invited here to offer a few words today on behalf of our hosts. And some of the words that I'm sharing, I acknowledge my uncle and all of our other relatives that are here from our territories and recognize each and every one. As we represent our own village sites and our own backgrounds and coming together to be able to embrace that little bit of an understanding and a new pathway that's being laid out for all of our people, Indigenous and non-Indigenous alike. There's so many different avenues that we're trying to be able to create more outreach and be able to create more awareness in terms of being able to bring the teachings and the snwayith, the snapanak that we carry as Indigenous people, as Kwilngok people, and being able to help incorporate that into governance and all the different avenues that we carry within the world that we live in. So being able to kind of embrace that understanding and to be able to open up our minds to that concept in itself, and being able to bring those two worlds and try and help them to be able to coexist. Not to put one higher than the other, but to help create that connection, as we say tlithok in our languages, when we're creating a connectedness. When things are linked together in a positive way, I think that's the most efficient way we're able to move together as a people. And recognizing our hosts for being able to lay out this gathering in this way to help generate that and solidify that connection. Between our Snwayith and our Snapanak as Kwilngok people, and being able to infix that into our modern day laws and our modern governance. So without further ado, I just wanted to acknowledge some of those feelings that were shared by our hosts and help that shine that light on being able to create a better understanding of why we're all brought together for this gathering for today and tomorrow. Hoping the best for each and every one of you as we move forward and listening to these discussions and moving forward today. I just wanted to take that bit of time to help open up our minds to being able to anticipate some of the discussions that are going to take place. So I thank you all again for listening to my words this morning. We're going to start our day in a proper way. Mike Kunasut Chitet, Siam Sitch, Yux'wey'lupton, Suene Hewell, Suangas Tal, Hotai Stiwith. Su kwakat at the squash J Tienok, Siam Ait Strelacha, Suene Hewell, Siam Sitch, Haiska Siam. I'm just calling forward my Sitch, my uncle Yux'wey'lupton, Butch Dick, who's going to come forward and offer us a prayer to start off the day in a good way. Siam Ait Strelacha, Haiska Hela Siam Haiska.
Ashkar nephew, thank you. Thank you, Vic, for the honor to be here this morning to open up your deliberations or your symposium for the next 2 days. As Ian mentioned, open up your hearts and your minds is part of what we are as people, regardless of who we are and where we're from. I always welcome the opportunity to visit this house, as it is called the First People's House. And the biggest welcoming that you can have is to see familiar faces, as my nephew and all the other people that I know in the group here. I'm often called out to do welcomes to the territory, and recognizing that fact is extremely important to me, because every time we do this, we create understanding amongst people. So Asiyam Nushelacha, Asiyam Nushwalakwa, Haishkwa Kwansana, Techo, Lakwagantanuk, Haishka Siyam Nuquelia. I know I was introduced as Uncle Butch, but my first name is, my First Nation name is Yux'wey'lupton. Yux'wey'lupton comes from the Sandwich Nation, from my great-grandfather. And my grandfather was Baptiste Paul, otherwise known as Chief Thunderbird. He was a professional wrestler. So all those grounds that we cover throughout our years, we have to remember where we came from and the purpose that we gather together today, that to form a circle of understanding amongst people. And whether we do that with song and dance or just words is vital to who we are as people, and acceptance and creating belonging, not only in this house, but at UVic, Camosun College, and Royal Roads University. And we see a lot of doors opening up in every one of those institutions. And that means we're making vast steps forward in all areas. So thank you for the honor for being here. I'm sharing this time with my granddaughter, Brianna. And I always marvel at the fact that I can hear Ian speak. And I'm so envious how he speaks with Sanchatan language. And you can see that research is gradually taking place in all communities in the revitalization of our language. As you know, we have 3 different Coast Salish languages within 50 miles. Alkaminum, Sinchatan, and Lək ʷəŋən. We have one person who carries Lək ʷəŋən, and he's passed that along to younger people, and they're carrying the torch for the language to revitalize it. Our language is meaningful if you understand it. So thank you very much. I'm going to do the paddle welcome song, which comes from Cowichan. It was taught to me and our family by our late Uncle Ray Peters. And he said, carry this song in a good way and sing it to good people and bring that good message to everyone.
Oh
Symposium.
Consistel al de scoilequins siem sets, when song is talchens, ja met squel tienok, ik stu consistel te ja tonight strelacha, makal en sai stilum ian stiwil, en sai scoilequins tienok siem sets haiska siem. Offering my thanks and appreciation on behalf of our hosts today. Just thanking my sitch, Yux'wey'lupton, for offering those beautiful words and the beautiful song to start off the day in the right way. Just really heartfelt appreciation on behalf of our hosts today, and I just raise my hands up to you. Siem sitch, haiska siem, haiska. Lonnie, with the late nights, well, yeah. Been asked to be a witness carrier today. Andy McDonald, with the late nights, well, yeah. Been asked to be a witness carrier today. So I'll just ask our witnesses to stand as I call your names. Haiska, yeah. Wagwamda, with the late nights, well, yeah. Esther Van Wagner, been asked to be a witness carrier today. Siem, to the late nangtin. Siem to the quilia. Ila quax tit dea, tonight strelacha tieltin. Makal su the late nang at the squel dea, the mock suaika slintlini tia enok. Eat makal the squis j tia snowel. Colletti quayakangal squish quailacons mock dea, mock and the late nang, the squish quailacons tia enok. Nea, quinsu I tatal noch, I quinstu, I lilok and squela quinsella, siem la late nangtin. I suene he walt dea, the suaika slintlini, tia snowel, and su heok squal hella, the squish squela quinsathea. Nea, the squal quaichal quinsu la late nang. Nil quachet, the snapanax sila, the chakate lang stu la late nang, the snapanax, eat the snoyils. Just leiloch lachta. I makal kunsu chawis and site squela quinseeks hot to ax chithetang to sena. At the squace squel eat the squace j tia snowel. Nil quacha uns quanet sela, siem la late nangtin. Kunsu heok at the squash squela quins tia snowel. Kalet kunasut chawis slut all te khunitam kan. Siem ait strelacha. Ansut talfin at this goes squela kuns at ningal. Kunasut tet siem the late nang ten high school siem. Just wanting to first acknowledge our witness carriers this morning, and acknowledging that our hosts had chosen to carry on the work in this manner. No, it isn't anything new. I'm just sharing feelings on behalf of my uncle and our family that's here. If you were to attend any of our ceremonies and our longhouses, you know, this is actually the first step in being able to demonstrate, you know, how we carry our forms of documentation in our ḥwēŋlūk ways, in our indigenous teachings, in our indigenous ways of being. You know, anytime anyone were to share feelings in our longhouses, and it could be anything from as small as an elder standing up and sharing teachings, or a family conducting a ceremony in our longhouses. There's many different ways in which you decide to call on witnesses to listen to words that are going to be shared. And in this case, it's going to be with all of the words and our presenters that we're going to have coming forward and sharing words within this event today and tomorrow. You know, and I just share this information for our witness carriers, you know, because as we think about that form of documentation, you know, any time that anyone were to come and ask about what took place at this gathering that our hosts are holding today and tomorrow, you know, any time where anyone were to have that curiosity, if they wanted to know what took place here and the words that were shared, it's at those times when we call upon our witness carriers to advocate those feelings for our hosts. So for that today, as I call you as witnesses, that's your quinet, we call, is your responsibility in the coming days, you know, to advocate the events and the words that took place with all of our presenters and the words that are going to be shared from our hosts. And then there's going to come a time near the end of the gathering where I'm going to call upon each of you. I'll call upon all four of you to come forward, and I'll invite you to come forward and share your feelings, share your thoughts on what took place between now and the end of the gathering. So there's going to come a time again where I'm going to call upon each of you to come forward and share those words, not only to everybody that's here in attendance, but just sharing those feelings again on behalf of our hosts as well. So again, I'll call upon you once again, and I look forward to being able to help open up that pathway and help you to understand, you know, a little bit more about what's taking place. And I really acknowledge our hosts for conducting this event in this manner and being able to call on these witnesses to make sure that some of the words that are going to be shared from our presenters and from everyone that's going to take part in our gathering are going to be carried, not only with our witnesses, but with everybody that's here. So without further ado, I just want to thank and acknowledge each of you witnesses for being here with us today and for taking part in this gathering in this way. Ikalet kunisut chia tonga hela mo kunslate nang tskoishkwela kunsteya then I strela cha tia enok so I twalan skoichel hela siem I strela cha siem tenakwitlia haiska hela kalet kunslate nang. Just acknowledging you once again for listening to these words today, and wishing everyone a good day, and wishing everyone nothing but good feelings as we move forward with our event today. Haiska hela kalet mo kunslate nang hayal teneskwel siem tenestrela cha haiska hela siem haiska.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. So wonderful to be here with you all for the next 2 days. We're very lucky to open up this morning in the right way. And part of that is thinking about these themes of care and governance with ÞEHLIE, Brianna Bear, and Yux'wey'lupton, Butch, who has already opened us up with a song and some teachings. But we wanted to ensure that we also have an opportunity to hear about the leadership around these themes of care and governance from our hosts. And so we're going to spend some time now hearing about some of the work that they have done and are doing. I'll also, just before I introduce them, let you know we will have a break after this to have coffee and food before we have our next speakers. And if you need the washrooms, they're out the door to the left. And then, yeah, after this, we will have a bit of a break to get some nourishment before we move forward. So there's a lot to say about these two wonderful people who are, I'm very lucky to call part of my extended family. You've already heard from Yux'wey'lupton, but I'll also just add that Butch has taught First Nations art and cultural awareness in the Victoria School District for over 25 years and has been such an advocate and a leader within that system, making space for our young people who are part of the school system. He's also worked formally as the educational liaison for the Songhees Band and is a renowned artist as well. Brianna Tłaliłila'ogwa has also studied partially with Butch, so I think that's also a beautiful part of hearing from these two together, and their voices together is the across the generations, intergenerational teachings and mentorship that's happened here between these two lovely, wonderful relatives. So as you're, especially those of you who are visitors here, as you're kind of spending time in Lək ʷəŋən territories, you might see signs of the Lək ʷəŋən throughout the city, and Butch was the artist who created those sculptures. They include spindle whorls and other markers throughout the city. He's also been part of redesigning Spirit Square, which was formerly known as Centennial Square, with his sons Clarence Dick Jr. and Bradley Dick, as well as Fabian Kwok's sister, and creating spirit poles that face the waters from that square as a gesture of welcome to the visitors. So that's downtown if you're downtown in the next few days. And Brianna, there's many things she's done, and is a very busy artist and mother, and as well as working now in the mayor's office, which she might share some of today. Brianna is a Coast Salish artist from Songhees or Lək ʷəŋən Nation, as well as with roots to the Kwakwaka'wakw, the Numgees people of Alert Bay. She first started as an artist more than 15 years ago, and has been learning under her uncle here. She's also branched out to create designs with Songhees and Numgees formline, and is working as one of few Indigenous female artists, women artists in these traditional territories. You will see her murals as well as artwork in various logos of businesses. And is going to share a bit today about some of that work, as well as her leadership now in the governance, the local governance with the mayor's office. So I will turn it over to you two. Thank you.
Hi, Squatchel again. Thank you. Thank you for the invitation to be here. And I'm very proud to be sitting beside my granddaughter, Brianna, and also with Ian. That's a good sign when you have people that can speak well and present well, as Ian does in a log house. And Brianna does in her walk in life, not only as being a mom and a granddaughter to to our family, but they do so in a proud manner that shows that they've listened. And the things that we take for granted, such as sight and hearing and taste and smell, all those things we just say, well, they're there until they start diminishing, which speaks to care and self-care. Quite often, I say to other elders, self matters. And it's different when you say that to young people, but it does matter, no matter how old you are. And the care for self is very important as you grow in years. And it shouldn't be when you reach an old age and you say, I should have done this, I should have been doing that. So listening to yourself and your body, both mentally and physically, is extremely important. Don't wait until you get older and it becomes a regret. Treat yourself well when you're younger, because that's what you'll have to live with when you're older. And I constantly tell that to young people. But listening is something that we've done all our lives, and I've done all my life in the big house. Sit and listen and learn. And as I became an artist, or First Nation artist, I approached many artists and said, I need help to create a pole or a mask or a mural. Most of them said, you can come and watch, but don't talk, just listen, or just watch and learn. Our world is changing. So there's so many other things for people to do that distracts them from listening and really understanding. Martin Brokenleg said, you can teach your mind, but unless it connects to the heart, that means you have to start over again. There's no fail in our language. If you don't do it right the first time, go back and start over. And you'll have that experience behind you. So creating art becomes not only a pastime when you're an elder, but I find it consumes just about most of my days. That's what I like doing. That's how I relax. That's how I think. So when I read the booklet last night, I thank the lady for coming and reminding me about the meeting today, because I wouldn't have been here otherwise. And when I was talking to her, I thought she was talking about another gathering, so we were both confused. So an opportunity to speak shouldn't be taken for granted. An opportunity to give advice or guidance shouldn't be taken for granted to a point where it becomes preaching. Elders sometimes get carried away with their own voices, but we shouldn't do that. Often thought about getting a buzzer installed or it'll give me a little zap every time I get carried away. So an opportunity to be here today and talk about care. And you realize how much that means. I was going to say in your old age. I guess I am old. So self-care matters. Looking after yourself when you're younger, carrying on a good life. But who's going to prosper from that? My wife is my #1 caregiver. My children also are part of that, my grandchildren and great-grandchildren. They make me stand proud, and they make me carry on the culture and pass that along. As an artist, I accepted that gift a long time ago. But in our culture, a gift is not a gift until you share it. I think I've done my share in 25 years of teaching, but I enjoyed every bit of it. I wouldn't trade it for anything.
I remember when you first taught me how to do art that one summer. I remember it was Grandpa Skip who said, "You're gonna go hang out with Grandpa Butch for the summer," because he asked me, what are you doing this summer? I was like, "Oh, nothing, probably hanging out with you, Grandpa." He's like, "No, you're gonna go see Grandpa Butch at Mungo Martin and you're gonna go learn how to do art." I remember that was like my first experience being able to learn more of our culture and more of our teachings just in the way that you taught. You always share stories. You share what different things have meant to you and the stories that you grew up with. And it always tied me back to, oh, okay, so no matter where I go in this life, I'm always tied to my land, whether that was through the art that you taught me or in the way that we welcome people to this territory. We're still sharing the responsibility that has been passed to us for hundreds and thousands of years. But it's something that we live with daily that we don't always think about until someone actually asks us, like, what does that mean? And I know when Grandpa first got me to do welcomes, he volunteered me to do it with you guys. I was like, I don't know what this means, Grandpa. And he's like, okay, just sit and watch. And I think that's a beautiful teaching that you shared in your words too, Grandpa, because that's essentially how you got us to learn how to do art, is just sit and watch or draw fluffy little pieces of bread, the ovoids. So.
That little buzzer went off inside me. So. I think it's proof positive that my granddaughter Ian and all my relatives, I got a niece up there somewhere, they're proof positive that they've listened and they're practicing and constantly nourishing not only the culture but what they've learned. So I'm going to let Brianna talk now.
Good, Grandpa. Asiam Nastelacha, Asa ÞEHLIE, Chesa Athla Lək ŵəŋən and Numgis. Good day, my friends and relatives. My name is ÞEHLIE. That name actually comes from my Wasanic side of the family. And it loosely translates to older sister, while one of my younger sister carries a younger sister name, ÞEHLIE. So it was fun trying to learn both mine and my sister's name at home when we were still living with my dad, because he would be yelling for one of us, and we're like, do you want the younger one or the older one, Dad? But saying that I come from Songhees through my grandpa Butch's side of the family, which is through my grandpa Lehichala Skip Dick, my grandma Linda Dick, and my dad Samet David Dick. And I have ties up to Numgis through my mom's side of the family, which is through my late grandma Beverly Williams, my grandfather Norman Seaweed, who's still here, and my mom ḣEHENLIE Leslie Seaweed. And then I've also had relatives, more parents come into my life from the Nuchanath tribes of Muchit, Heshkwit, and Ahousaht. I like to joke that because I was related to everyone on the island, I couldn't marry into any of the nations. So I married Cree and I went over the mountain. Now I have a 3.5-year-old who is learning a little bit of the 3 languages at home right now. So it's really neat to see because he's been able to differentiate his various grandmas in the Kwakwaka'wakw language, in the Cree language. So it makes it easy for us to figure out which grandma he wants that day. So this morning it was like, I need a moochie from Ada. So we had to call her. And then he was like, I need a moochie from Kukum. I was like, okay, let's call her too. They were both stoked to see him this morning through my phone. But more importantly than that, my son is being able to share that language within his daycare now, where I've had the daycare staff ask me, what does this mean? He's also singing this song called the Squaicho song. I was like, oh yeah, that's a song that I taught him because he wanted to learn a little bit more of the language. And he's like, oh, okay, that makes sense, because he kept saying, Squaicho, good day, good day. And then we also added, Squaicho CM, good day, respected one, good day, respected one. And it's been so cute because I guess he was just walking around the daycare just singing that, and then the other kids started picking it up too. And so the staff was like, what is this? So they ended up making me record a little button at the daycare. So every morning the kids go and hit it when they see me drop Gordy off, and they're like, that's Gordy's mom. It's really cute. And currently, I work at the City of Victoria as their Indigenous advisor since April. This is, the position that I'm in is actually one that the city has wanted to have implemented for probably 8 years since Mayor Lisa Helps was in office. But when the city first started their relationship building with both Songhees and Cope Sampson, they weren't allowed to have someone from the nation work within the city because both the nations wanted to see what was the true intention of what the city wanted to do. And so every year, Lisa and then Marianne would ask, is it okay if we hire someone from the nation? And our chief and council would say, no, we don't trust you with our people just yet. I need you to build a better relationship with us and have an understanding of responsibility and know that we can trust you with our people. So they're like, okay, we'll keep building that relationship together. And indeed, it took years because it takes patience, it takes time. As you know, the history of our Indigenous people and the colonization and genocide that happened, that we have to feel that relationship with you. And so from when the city started that relationship, they created a group within the city called the City Family, where they had members from Songhees, Cope Sampson, and other Indigenous members from the urban Indigenous population here that the nations have a relationship with, or volunteered them to be a part of this process with us. And this process is quite a bit different from your mainstream government hierarchical standards, where normally there's meeting minutes, there's recordings, there's all this Western colonial ways of being that you have to record this, you have to do this, you have to do that, so we know it's properly implemented. But our nations were like, no, that's not how we work. That's not how we guide our work. We do it through our oral history telling, just as you witnessed my uncle call upon the witnesses. That's how we record our history. That's how we take our governance to where it is today. And that was quite a change for the City of Victoria to do it in that process, but it was a way that we were able to create a better relationship, for them to take a step back and take a breath, to not have to say, okay, we have this checklist, we want to get this, this, and this done. And that was how they came to us in our first meeting. And both me and my auntie at the time were like, no, we don't know who you are. Can you introduce yourself? Who's your family? Where do your teachings come from? Because that's how we get an understanding of who we are as people. We introduce ourselves. Even if we might not know who your family is, that's still a grounding base for us to say, oh, okay, so this is your background. This is how you're connected, because my grandpas have always reminded me that again, no matter where we go in this life, we're always connected to our land, through our names, through our teachings, through the family that uphold us, who are still here and who have gone before us as well. And so as those years built on, we created a better relationship with the city of Victoria, to which this year, Marianne had asked the chiefs, is it okay if we hire someone from the nation to work for us? And lo and behold, Chief was like, yeah, go for it. And as most things happen in my life, I get volunteered. So Chief Ronsan was like, yeah, get Brianna to go in, because I was already doing a lot of contract work within the city. And so I've been in the position since April. This is a position, the contract technically comes up in October, but just because of the government, that's how it goes for them. But the contract will renew. But I'm kind of like the pilot project right now, and how do our nations and how can our nations actually fit within the city and our own governance structures, where we're following oral history, where we're actually going out to our nations to meet them one-on-one together, instead of having to bring them into the government structures that we have today. And it's been really beautiful. I hope that we can hire someone from Cope Sampson to be in this role with me, because it would mean a lot more, and they would have that better trust. Though I do have good family and relationship within that nation, it would just be better to have their teachings in this role with me. And from this role, I have been, oh yeah, I have a mic on so I can stand up. From this role, I've been working on this workbook that you saw briefly up on the screen, called Grounding in Local Responsibility. But this presentation is one that has been in the works for probably 8 years as well. But it's a presentation that's grounded in the learning the rights of the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People, the TRC calls to action, and just a better understanding of creating relationships with our nations. Whether that's tied to our language, it's tied to stories, it's tied to artwork, and just understanding where we come from. So it's okay if it doesn't work. I was just going to show the document, that's it. But the document actually ties into about a 3.5-hour presentation that I do with city staff currently, that I've done about 3 times now. A lot of it is tied into table discussions where they actually get to know who their coworkers are. And it's amazing because quite a few of these people have worked with each other for 2 to 5 years, and they never knew who their colleagues were until this presentation came about, where I got them to actually take almost 20 minutes talking to each other about who their family is, what are their connections. And so this presentation goes over a lot of topics, but a lot of it ends up being grounded right into how can we tie this into our work? How do we understand these various frameworks and tying them into... Wasn't meant to be, I'm just supposed to talk about it. That's okay. But all of these teachings, I realized when I was writing it, all come from my grandpa. They come from Grandpa Butch. They come from Grandpa Skip. They come from other elders that I've met in my life who have influenced me. And I think that's an important key thing to remember, is that all our stories are passed down. They're meant to be talked about. It took me several years to remember who my whole family was when Grandpa started getting me to introduce myself. And when I first got my name, I couldn't even say my name. And it was an understanding and practice that, as Grandpa Butch shared, that you have to make mistakes to learn. That's how we learn. Though the fear is there, you can still do it. And when we care for one another and uplift each other and bring the young ones beside us to learn, it makes a world of a difference. And my son is normally with me on and off, but he's in daycare now, and he's slowly learning. He's learning the language. He's learning songs from all sides of his culture right now. And those are things that came into our lives from our elders, our teachers. And it's remembering that we have to be guided in responsibility and care. You have to be patient in the work that you're doing with local nation members. It takes time, it takes patience. It takes challenges too, because our elders and our leaders will tell you no. And you have to accept that and realize, okay, maybe we have to take a step back, do this work again, and try a different way of approaching it. I almost quit being a part of the city family. If it wasn't for Marianne and Lisa actually coming to meet me halfway at a place where I was comfortable, whether that was my home, whether it was a coffee shop, or being at the park with my son. They met me in person, connected with me not on a hierarchical kind of standard, but they met with me at the heart, got to know me, got to know who I learned from, where my ties are grounded to. And I think that's really important. So be patient, be calm, take time to learn the lands that you're on, whether that's through seeing Grandpa's art around the city, because all of those signs of Lək ʷəŋən have stories. Songese has 2 books. They have the Songese pictorial, and they also have our personal Songese book that was only created a few years back now that shares stories and more. Awesome. Do you want to share anything, Grandpa?
Is it my turn, Brianna?
My buzzer's going off now.
I think those words are a good demonstration of how young people learn. And the ability of listening is a hard discipline, especially in this day and age, where technology is always there, and we have to admit, yeah, it's a part of our world now. As we grew up on the old Songese Reserve, there's only 12 homes. Until 1954, there was no electricity. We all had wood stoves and kerosene lamps. And when I talk in different places, I talk about gramophones. And people always frown and say, what the heck's a gramophone? We used to have to wind up a gramophone and put great big records on it. My mother used to listen to big band and country and western. So that's what we grew up with. On Sunday night, we listened to the radio. It was a battery-operated radio. We used to have 3 programs that we used to listen to before we were told to turn it off. There was one show called The Shadow Knows. And there's another a war story. And the last was horse racing. We used to bet all our little bottle caps and everything that we had on our favorite horse. And if we won, we got all those marbles and bottle caps and everything. Those were the fun times. The whole reserve, all the children in the reserve used to gather at one yard just about every day when there was a lot of light. We used to play Indian baseball and all kinds of games in that field. We call it Hammy's Field. It belonged to Hammy Kamai, one of the elders in our community. We used to play for hours down there, even until it was dark. The last thing we'd play is called Kick the Can, where if you were it, you had to guard the can in the middle of the road. And you had to search for people in the bushes and everything and try to race back to the can and guard it. We weren't distracted by technology. That gramophone and that radio was our technology. Until I was a teenager, I really didn't know what the outside world looked like, how people dressed, what kind of hairdo do they have, what kind of music did they listen to. We didn't know. That was the outside world. Whether we prospered from getting electricity and a battery radio, not a battery, electric radio, and a funny looking TV that was in black and white. All of those things that you think about were, I think the biggest distraction was the telephone on the wall. I don't know how many of you seen the old dial phones and how long it takes to dial. And you consider the way it is today, where everything's instant. On the way up here, we passed a bus stop with 6 people waiting. Every one of them were on the phone. So it seems like the pandemic kind of forced us into isolation to a point where we start to enjoy it. Our first company after the pandemic, we looked at them and said, "Why are you here?" And our grandson said, "We missed you." So technology is fine, but it shouldn't take up most of your day. There's too much going on in this crazy world of ours. Years ago, I was involved in a play called The Sacred Circle. It was based on Wiedley Beck's story. But the one takeaway I had from that play was we're all different, but the same. That's the acceptance and belonging to all people, regardless of who they are or where they're from. So I not only taught my mind, but it connected with my heart. And everybody matters. Elders matter because most of them are survivors. We have to cherish what they carry. We have to cherish who they are and who their family is. At 1:30, I'll be down at the legislature raising the Every Child Matters flag with champions and heroes like Eddie Charlie and many of those survivors that are still alive today. So every day is a learning experience, every day is a challenge. And I thank you for inviting me here and allowing me to speak. It's been an honor to be here. And I thank my granddaughter, Brianna, because I feel good sitting beside her. It's what we call holding up people. We have to do that to each other more. Always. So, hi, Scott.
Hey, Chika.